Good morning. Welcome to the Collector's Show. Your Saturday morning, and hopefully you're tuned in right here. All right. Swig of coffee for all of our listeners out there and everything. Let's go ahead and going to go through here and read the comments if I can get back on here. I'll go ahead and start this thing up. And, as you know, that's what we do here. If you're new here or just happen to click on this on accident or whatever, trying to figure out what this is our Collector's Radio Show where we get together and we discuss things and read comments from you and everything. And we got some really cool stuff here that we're going to talk about. Kind of weird. We have almost, in a sense, remakes of classics, but in a weird sense, opposite ends of the spectrum, if you would. I know that's I went a little Rod Serling on you and kind of made that kind of cryptic, but we'll stay tuned. You'll find out, right? All right, here we go with the comments. No particular order. Again, if your comment was not read, it's because you commented too late, or it just wasn't there. They got pulled, whatever, or just too rated R for the program. Okay. All right. Scottish American. He wrote here, I had someone message me about a 29 just last week. The store, I mismarked it. And they were asking way too much for what it actually was. Prices really haven't been up and down as much as they used to from what I've been seeing. Finally seen some reloading components coming down. But don't believe we will ever see 3 cents a primer again. That is very true. As far as prices go and everything like that, that is, if I may add to that, that is very dependent on where you're at. I will say that. That is going to vary from where you're at, because as somebody that came from the island, those prices were dramatically up here. When I came here, they're dramatically down here. There's a big, huge jump. All right. Danger Man, thanks for the reminder about The Hunter, which is a good movie. What does he say? I'm Ralph Thorson. He goes, and you're not going to try to run on me, right? Because it's too hot. I don't want to chase you, and I don't want to have to shoot you. And he carries a nice original A1 Parkerized 1911, doesn't he? All right. I'm going to watch it tonight. Great movie. Love that kit gun. Those are cool. The kit and camp guns, whatever I heard about, definitely been floating around. Always had my eyes set on one. When I actually came across the opportunity to obtain one, I definitely wanted to do so. That was originally belonged to a guy that was kind of, that's what happens. We get things lent to the channel, whatnot. And sometimes old JW goes, how much you want for that, by the way? So that's one of those things. But the kit gun is absolutely cool. It's a Smith & Wesson J-frame adjustable sights, 6-shot. I like the 6-shot 22 revolvers like that. I know they can hold 9 or so or more, but I'm a traditionalist. I like that style of just 6. It's something. So, and I mean, hey, it's a snubby, and you guys know I am such a fanatic for all those old movies, the Bogart films. I mean, all the black and white stuff, and going all the way through. Of course, Witness and Harrison Ford. I just have a thing for all those. All right. As much as I love new Colts, in which I do too, I have my eyes set on the Anaconda. Really, I like that gun, and I'm gonna have to obviously change out those rubber grips or wood ones. If I ever do obtain one, but I checked them out. I like it way too much. But I think Smith & Wesson makes a better gun. Hard to take sides in the debate. It is. I will say this though: the new Colts have definitely piqued my interest because I think they're a lot better made. Did I say that? All the collectors are going, ah! But that's just what happens. But that's just the way I feel. I mean, I've handled them. I've checked them out. I used to have one of the new Pythons. I used to, and loved it. Had it for a little while, but off it goes, as many of them do with me. If you're looking for a collector gun, they still have models that are reasonably priced still. Yes, I mean, I'm not opposed to getting. I still kind of want to get a Model 29 from their classic line, just because. Not that I need another Model 29, but I just want one from the classic line. I really do. So Have to check that out. And it's funny how the people get crazy about that. Well, they don't have that hammer-mounted firing pin. It's a frame-mounted firing pin. Yeah, but the Colt Python was supposedly the Cadillac and the best, finest revolver ever made in the world, and it has always had a frame-mounted firing pin. But, you know, go figure. But anyway, a favorite that a person should consider a Model 15, Adam 12, in my humble opinion, is the finest 38 special ever made. They don't call it the, what do they call it, the Combat Masterpiece for nothing. They tend to sell for 600 range in a real nice one. Yeah, I haven't seen too many lately, but yeah, the Model 15, you really can't go wrong. K-frame, 6-shot, adjustable rear sights, you know, you gotta love it. All right, Scottish American, I've seen one of the kit guns over the years. They're very cool. Beautiful example, brother. Thank you, Slimfire 54. Thanks for the Collector's Radio, JW. I've let a few guns go. Wish I still had, but when you need some cash, guns go. That's very true. Or like me, I just happen to trade them out a lot. I still have all that. I still have all the model and serial numbers of the guns I let go. That's just, you know what? I would like to do that, but I'm afraid I would just cry too much. Maybe one day I'll find one using the serial number on that gun. That's a good idea. You never know. Steve McQueen, The Great Escape, is one of my favorite movies and actors too. Thanks, Slim. Steve McQueen was way ahead of his time during it, and I think that's such a short career. He really did. He's just, I mean, just over a decade of, you know, where he started to really get traction and stuff like that. I mean, especially when you start thinking like Cincinnati Kid was what, 60, you know, mid 60s, breaking into the later part of it, and of course by Bullet and all that was, you know, he started hitting a real good stride. And then, you know, just the early 70s, that chunk, man, he was just like rocking and rolling. But, you know, unfortunately, we lost a great one there. All right, Joe P. Swig of coffee for Joe. I always wonder how often gun manufacturers pay to have their guns placed in movies. That is a good question, because the movie, what is it, the U.S. Marshals, I was drawing a blank there. U.S. Marshals, I mean, come on. If that movie is not a Glock commercial, I don't know what is. And I wonder how much they paid, especially to have Tommy Lee Jones say the infamous line. So, but yeah, you know, I'm sure they pay a pretty good chunk, or I'm not sure how that would work. Sometimes it's obvious, as when Glocks were featured in John Wick. But my favorite was the movie Blood Work, where Clint Eastwood shows and talks about the Smith & Wesson Model 627. The verbiage was identical to how he talked about the Model 29 in Dirty Harry. You know, come to think of it, you're right. That was, you know, and Blood Work was, like, to me, one of his, like, that was a decent movie that he did during that later years. I do like that movie. And it worked on me, as I went out and bought one right away, and bought one. How is that? Isn't it like a 7 or 8 shot? It's an 8 shot, right? I think that's what he says in the movie. Okay, an Angry Ranger. Though I am a dedicated fan of John Wayne, Richard Boone, Steve McQueen, and such, I've never been interested in obtaining any weapon they used in films. I suppose that my interests are more particular for the usefulness of the weapon itself. Having bought and sold, traded many weapons over the past 6 decades, none were obtained strictly for their star power attraction. Guess folks, my folks raised me to practical for my own good. Hey, to each their own. I solely buy guns for film. That's it. That's my entire interest. All right. Edward Petty. For the most part, I keep my firearms. On rare occasions, I let one go. I wish I would have kept that, but I've unfortunately let everything go almost. Only to obtain something else that I wanted more. Yeah, that is definitely something that happens. Jeffrey Richardson. They are a good bank account savings. Yep, definitely have made my living through them back in on the early days when I had my shop, and damn, I miss those days. I really do. You know what was really awesome about having my own shop and everything? I didn't answer to anybody really. I just did my thing. It was like nobody questioned. It was like, you know, oh, it's got to be done this way and this particular way. Pfft. Things change. Change is what happens. Or I just did it my own way. All right, the Bohemian Hunting Club. Does seem like prices have dropped a little on everything. Well, what I've seen, sure, others will say different. Yeah, I mean, you know, and Scotsman did you know, various areas for sure, but he has seen some components dropping in price, which is nice. You know, I'm just happy that the components are, you know, it's nice that they're not like, you know, some guy trying to sell you a brick of a primers for $1,000 or something like that. But I'm happy to see that it's not completely made out of unobtainium, you know. All right, Jag 1. I'm sorry, I don't know how to properly pronounce your name. What's your favorite Smith & Wesson revolver? I'm in the market. My favorite Smith & Wesson revolver is a Model 29 6.5-inch barrel -2. That's what goes without saying. Why? Because it made my day. All right, JW, he responded to that. I think it's a bad idea to try to just name one. Different models have various features and calibers. Very good point, but again, I'm too movie driven. I'm going to make a list of several favorites. Let's read your list. Why not? Model 629 4-inch, Model 17 8 3/8, Model 29 8 3/8, Model 58 4-inch standard length. Model 581 4-inch. Wow, what is the 581? I don't know what that one is. Now you got me curious. What's the 581? All right. The last two are apparently designed for police duty usage. Fixed sights, 4-inch tubes, standard. The 58 is a 41. Oh, that answered the question. It's a 41 Magnum, which is a bit severe for most officers, minimizing deployment. The 581 is a 350. Oh, there it is. Is a 357 Magnum and 38 Special in the K-frame size, L frame with the underlug. The 581. All right. Unfortunately, I loaned it to someone I didn't know I couldn't trust. He probably sold it, but tried to blame the other guy for its disappearance. The caliber hasn't interested me much since I started shooting 44 and 45 calibers. I definitely love 22 LR. Yeah. Alexander Alva, 357 Smith & Wesson snub nose. I like the Model 19 for that one in the snubby. All right, so we got some the comments read and everything. We'll get exit out of that because we got something really cool to show you on the show, and I know everybody's probably been dying to see it, but let's we'll get this computer out of the way. But check this thing out. Does this not make you want to watch The Unforgiven? Spencer rifle. That's right. This is a Taylor and Company imported, obviously made in Italy, of the Spencer rifle. This is absolutely gorgeous, by the way. Look at that. 58 caliber, I believe. It's a 58. I believe it's a 58-50 Spencer. The stamping's a little hard to read, but if you're wondering how these things work, everything, yeah, it's rough being a lefty with this thing because guess what? The saddle ring and everything is right there, so that you know, that makes it rough. So you put that on the first notch right there, and then that brings that thing down so you can rack the next round in there, bringing it down, pulling the hammer back the rest of the way, and then kaboom. A big kaboom, right? We're not going to dry fire this thing. These things are very expensive, by the way. That bluing on there is superb. The wood and everything. And this is the cool thing to me, is they load from a tube in the rear of the thing. And I mean, just look at the Look at that thing. I mean, imagine loading that sucker up. There is just nothing like these things. These things are so unique and just cool. Look at the size of that hammer. Color case hardening and everything. So, but yeah, this makes especially in the Unforgiven. He says, "Hand me that Spencer rifle right there," and yeah. I believe it originally was carried by the character played by Morgan Freeman. He had the Spencer. Yeah, I think it was hanging up on his kitchen. He says, "You still got the Spencer." He says, "Yeah." But it's neat because also it's I don't know if you can see it. It's not a very. It's a nice little kind of a short carbine kind of a rifle. I do like it. It's neat as heck. Again, very expensive though. Very, very expensive. These things they don't come cheap. But man, boy, the Italian copies are fantastic. The only thing you got to worry, be careful about with the Italian copies is the screws. The screws, for some reason, are really soft. They're not as durable as you would like to. You know, when it comes to taking them apart and stuff, I'm a big firm believer in always having a can of that stuff on standby at all times. Soak them sometimes down. If it's something that's got a heck of a if it's got a good stiff screw in there, I'll take the screwdriver and put it down in there and actually give the top a tap, making sure you have the right gunsmithing screwdrivers for this, obviously, along with the Croyle. And then sometimes you can take just the shank of the bit, the squared off or hex shank of the bit. Take a pair of like a crescent wrench or whatever, and kind of twist it that way instead of wrenching on the top. Do a twist that way and see if it'll break loose. You know, keep in check of that. But yeah, anytime you kind of go and buying, especially any of the Italian, Uberti, Pieta, all them, they're check the screws. Check the screws. Make sure nobody's been playing around with them in there, because it's a good indication of something may have been changed out. Especially being careful with any of the Western kind of stuff, the single actions, the 97 shotguns and all that, because of the SAS shooters. The cowboy action shooting has definitely put an extra wear and tear on a lot of those guns. So just a word of caution when you're out buying them, looking at them, that keep in mind that, you know, if it has been used in that field, it may be definitely worn or whatnot. So just anything used in those kind of games and all that they play, you know, just definitely keep an eye on that. So before we get out of here, the other thing I wanted to kind of showcase and talk about would be a 1911. Of course, couldn't have a show without a 1911, right? But you know what? I've owned this for quite some time now. And yes, it is the Wilson Combat 1911, most expensive 1911 I own. And these things don't come cheap by any means. But I tell you, from a standpoint of, for me, just, of course, obviously no sponsorship with this thing, no, no discounted price or anything like that. But having owned it for a number of years now, and handling it, shooting it, playing with it, and all that stuff, is it worth the price tag? Absolutely. I've said it over and over, and I still feel that way to this day. I still feel that this 1911 is worth every penny that Wilson charges for these things. I know I kind of come off like a Wilson Combat fanboy, and that may be that I am. I just like their products. I think everything that they do is top-notch. Their 1911s, I mean, this is considered, too, kind of their flagship gun. This is the CQB. It's called the Elite. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not too wild about the name. Elite, you know, everybody, oh, Elite, you know, whatever. From really what I looked at for what the Elite means and everything, it does have the magazine well that's been blended into the frame and everything. You know, and it's got the ambi safety, which I'm actually not a big fan of the ambi safety, although funny as I'm left-handed, but I shoot right-handed with the 1911s. That's because the way I load the magazine and stuff like that, I put it through the bottom and then actually roll over to the slide release. That's just the way I do it. But then again, I'm not all into the whole, whoa, tactical this and all that. But, you know, this is the most tactical 1911, I guess you'd say, I own. Everything else you see that I have is pretty plain Jane GI or old school Series 70 kind of stuff. So, but I just had to have one of these after reading his books and doing all the stuff and watching all the material that guys like Larry Vickers were coming out with. And I tend to, you know, kind of take my lessons and whatnot and things that I take in, you know, kind of about 1911s. I like gravitating towards guys like Vickers and Ken Hackathorn, obviously Bill Wilson, because these are kind of, to me, the last 1911 guys that we got they're still alive right now that have like been there, done that, seen it, handled it, and all that stuff. So that's kind of where, you know, that comes from for me. But I tell you, the fit finish on this thing, that's all it did. It took that for me was when I went to the market, I saw it, and I said, you know what, that is everything that I think, you know, they lived up to. I got to say, Wilson Combat is it's not just about hype. It really does walk the walk. So I know I sound like an infomercial now, but anyway, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a good one this weekend. Drink up your coffee, you know, and have at it. My coffee is my cup, my special cup. It's got those, probably from the sponge or something.